You know how humans spent centuries wondering if we were alone in the universe? Turns out we weren't. But more importantly, turns out the universe probably wished we were. The day the Zizorn delegation arrived at UN headquarters was supposed to be humanity's grand entrance into the galactic community. Emphasis on supposed to be. Ambassador Zixatal and their entourage of 12 tentacled diplomats descended from their shimmering vessel like some kind of cosmic ballet troupe, all graceful movements and iridescent robes. Dr. Raven Chen stood among Earth's welcome committee, fighting the urge to roll her eyes at the theatrical display. Next to her, Admiral Helena Blackwood maintained her military posture, though Chen could swear she saw the Admiral's lip twitch with barely contained amusement. The thing about first contact protocols is that everyone had an opinion about how they should go. The military wanted a show of strength, the politicians wanted speeches, the cultural experts insisted on traditional ceremonies. In the end, they went with what humans do best, throwing a party. You'd think after traveling 147 light-years, the aliens would be prepared for anything. They had files upon files about Earth culture, biology, and social customs. But apparently, their extensive research had missed something crucial. The welcome reception was held in the UN's Grand Hall, decked out with flags from every nation. The air buzzed with excitement as Earth's finest diplomats, scientists, and leaders mingled awkwardly with their alien counterparts. Everything was going perfectly according to plan until the catering staff rolled out the refreshments. Ambassador Zixatal was mid-sentence in their greeting speech, tentacles gesturing dramatically, when they suddenly froze. All four of their eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. The other Zixorn followed suit, their color shifting from a pleasant lavender to an alarming shade of green. "By the cosmic core," Zixatal whispered, their universal translator making the words sound like they were being strangled. "You keep that substance in the open? Around children?" Dr. Chen followed their terrified gaze, expecting to see some kind of weapon or hazardous material. Instead, she saw a perfectly arranged display of, well, something completely ordinary by human standards. Admiral Blackwood stepped forward, hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. "Ambassador, I assure you everything here has been thoroughly vetted for safety." "Safety?" The word came out as a high-pitched squeak. "You humans truly don't know. This explains so much about your species' reputation in the uncharted regions." Dr. Chen watched in fascination as the entire Zixorn delegation began backing away from the refreshment tables, their tentacles curling in what she would later learn was their species' equivalent of abject horror. The UN Secretary-General, looking thoroughly confused, tried to salvage the situation. "Perhaps if you could explain your concerns, Ambassador." Zixatal's color had shifted again, this time to a peculiar polka-dotted pattern that definitely wasn't in any of the xenobiology briefings. "You have just displayed the most lethal substance known to galactic civilization as if it was some kind of refreshment. They paused, all four eyes blinking in rapid succession. "We must contact the Galactic Council immediately." And that's how humanity's grand debut into galactic society turned into what Dr. Chen would later describe in her research notes as the Great Cosmic Freakout of 2157. Though she had to admit, watching 12 alien diplomats try to evacuate through a single door while maintaining their dignity was probably the highlight of her scientific career. As the chaos unfolded, she couldn't help but notice that not a single one of the aliens would say exactly what had scared them so badly. But one thing was certain. Whatever it was about to make humanity's position in the galaxy a lot more interesting than anyone had anticipated. Admiral Blackwood sidled up next to her, watching the last of the Zizorn practically sprint back to their ship. "Well," she said with a perfectly straight face, "that went better than the time we tried to explain why humans keep plants in their houses. All right, people, let's figure out what made our new friends run away like they'd seen a ghost wearing a tax collector's badge." Dr. Chen addressed the hastily assembled team of Earth's top scientists. The emergency research facility, thrown together in what used to be a defunct mini-mall, hummed with activity. Dr. Marcus Wong, her longtime colleague, was already running analysis on everything that had been present in the UN hall. "You know," he said, not looking up from his holographic display, "when they said we'd be making history with first contact, I didn't think it would involve cataloguing the entire contents of a catering table." Check the molecular structure of everything, Chen directed, pulling up her own datasets. The zeosaur are silicon-based life forms. Maybe something we consider harmless is toxic to them? That would explain their reputation for being terrible dinner guests, quipped Dr. Wong, earning a few chuckles from the team. The analysis took 3 days, during which the Zorn remained sealed in their ship, sending increasingly panicked messages about quarantine protocols and demanding to know if humans had contained the substance. They still refused to name exactly what had terrified them, which Chen found both frustrating and oddly amusing. It was Dr. Prisha Patel who made the breakthrough, bursting into the lab's break room, where Chen was trying to convince the coffee machine to produce something that didn't taste like recycled Starship fuel. "You're not going to believe this," Prisha gasped, waving her tablet frantically. "We've been looking at this all wrong. It's not what was on the tables, it's what was inside what was on the tables." Chen grabbed the tablet, her eyes widening as she scanned the results. "This can't be right. Run it again." "Already did, 5 times. The entire research team gathered around as Chen pulled up the results on the main screen. Admiral Blackwood, who had taken to haunting the facility like some kind of military ghost, materialized beside them. "Want to share with the class, Doctor?" the Admiral asked, raising an eyebrow at the complex molecular diagrams. Chen couldn't help but laugh. "Remember how humans are like 70% water? Turns out we're basically walking weapons of mass destruction to most galactic species. Water, good old H2O, is highly toxic to nearly every known spacefaring race." "Water?" Admiral Blackwood blinked. "They're afraid of water." "Not just afraid," Dr. Wong chimed in, his face lit with excitement. "To silicon-based life forms like the Zorn, water causes rapid molecular breakdown. It's like acid to them, only worse, and we just serve them a buffet full of water-based beverages." "So you're telling me," the Admiral said slowly, "that Earth, which is 71% covered in water, which literally rains water from the sky, is essentially a death world to the rest of the galaxy?" "Oh, it gets better," Chen grinned. "The human body produces about 1.5 liters of saliva daily. To them, we're basically walking around with deadly weapon dispensers in our mouths." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Finally, Admiral Blackwood spoke up, her voice carefully controlled. "Dr. Chen, are you suggesting that humans could theoretically defeat an alien invasion by spitting?" "Technically, yes, but I'd strongly advise against putting that in the official report." Just then, a junior researcher burst into the room. "The Galactic Council just sent a message. They're declaring Earth a Level 10 hazardous zone and are demanding we implement immediate containment protocols for all water sources." Chen looked at the Admiral, who was now wearing an expression that could only be described as dangerously amused. "Well," Blackwood said, "I guess this explains why we never got any alien visitors before, though I have to admit this wasn't quite what I expected when they said first contact would be fluid." The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council looked like a cosmic version of a badly organized circus. Representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations crammed themselves into the orbital station just beyond Mars orbit, the closest to Earth they dared to come. Dr. Chen stood at the podium, trying not to laugh at how the entire assembly flinched when she took a sip from her water bottle. The council chamber's air recyclers worked overtime to handle the variety of atmospheric needs, creating an odd whistling sound that made everything feel like a bad sci-fi movie. "Distinguished representatives," she began, "our analysis confirms that the substance in question is indeed dihydrogen monoxide, which humans commonly call water." The chamber erupted in chaos. A representative from the crystalline species Nixthal actually shattered one of their growth segments in shock. The Zixorn delegation huddled together, their tentacles forming what looked suspiciously like a group hug. "Order," demanded High Councillor Vrax, their metallic scales rattling. "Dr. Chen, are you telling us that humans not only survive in the presence of this substance, but actually require it for survival?" "Precisely. The average human body is composed of approximately 70% water. We need it to maintain basic biological functions." A horrified murmur swept through the chamber. One alien, looking like a cross between a peacock and a quantum physics equation, actually fainted. Admiral Blackwood, standing beside Chen, leaned over and whispered, "I think you broke them. Maybe don't mention that we use it for recreation." But the Council's chief scientist, a gelatinous being named Dr. Blob, not their real name, but the only thing humans could pronounce without risk of temporal displacement, had already accessed Earth's public networks. By the eternal void, they burbled through their translator. They immerse themselves in large collections of it for pleasure. They freeze it and consume it as a treat. They heat it and add plant matter to create recreational beverages. Now, Chen tried to sound diplomatic, I'm sure we can establish proper safety protocols. Safety protocols, screeched a representative from the gas-based Etherian Empire. Your planet literally bombards its surface with this substance from the atmosphere. Your oceans are planet-sized weapons of mass destruction. Admiral Blackwood stepped forward. If I may address the Council, Earth has no intention of using water as a weapon. We value peaceful cooperation and... They launched themselves into it wearing minimal coverings, interrupted another councillor, who had apparently just discovered Earth's beach vacation photos. They allow their young to play in it. The High Councillor raised all four hands for silence. Dr. Chen, your species' apparent immunity to this substance is disturbing. The fact that you require it for survival is even more so. This raises serious concerns about humanity's place in the galactic community. With all due respect, Chen replied, pulling up her presentation, Earth's unique situation could be beneficial. Our scientists have already begun developing containment systems that would allow safe interaction between species. Furthermore, our water handling capabilities could prove invaluable for toxic waste disposal and planetary terraforming. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. Humans, the deadly water bearers, could handle substances that would dissolve most other species on contact. Additionally, Admiral Blackwood added with a perfectly straight face, this explains why Earth has never been invaded by hostile forces. Our natural defense system appears quite effective. Dr. Chen shot her a look that clearly said, not helping, but several military representatives were already muttering amongst themselves. The Council will need time to deliberate, High Councillor Vrax announced. Until then, Earth is officially designated as a Category X restricted zone. All non-human vessels must maintain a minimum safe distance of 1 orbital unit to prevent possible water vapor contamination. As they left the chamber, Chen overheard one alien diplomat whisper to another, did you know they even have specialized facilities where they deliberately create water vapor to clean themselves? They call them showers. Absolutely barbaric. Admiral Blackwood waited until they were back on their ship before bursting into laughter. Did you see their faces when you showed them the rain cycle diagram? I thought that purple one was going to turn inside out. This is serious, Chen tried to maintain her professional demeanor, but a smile tugged at her lips. We need to figure out how to interact with species that dissolve on contact with our primary biological component. Look on the bright side, the Admiral grinned. At least now we know why all those crop circles disappeared whenever it rained. Their ship's communication system crackled to life. The High Council had reached a decision in record time. Apparently, the threat of water was excellent motivation for efficient bureaucracy. As Chen read the declaration, she couldn't decide whether to laugh or groan. Earth was officially classified as the most dangerous planet in known space, and humanity had just become the galaxy's most terrifying species, all because they were basically water balloons with anxiety. Well, Chen sighed, taking another deliberately dramatic sip from her water bottle. I guess this gives new meaning to the phrase, human resources. 3 months after the water incident, the UN Security Council found itself in the strangest trade negotiation in human history. Dr. Chen watched as Ambassador Leopold Reeves tried to explain the concept of moisture-proof containers to a holographic delegation of very nervous aliens. I assure you, Reeves said, his diplomatic smile firmly in place, our containment technology is absolutely safe. Not a single molecule of water can escape these systems. The Zeason trade representative, still traumatized from their first visit, twitched all 12 tentacles. And your transportation crews? They will remain fully sealed in their protective gear? Of course, Reeves nodded, carefully not mentioning that said protective gear was really just standard work uniforms with fancy new labels. Earth takes safety protocols very seriously. Admiral Blackwood, standing next to Chen, muttered under her breath, who knew our most valuable export would be our ability to handle the galaxy's hazardous materials. It turned out that being the only species that could safely handle water had its perks. Every industrial process that involved water, which was apparently most of them, suddenly required human oversight. Earth's quarantine status had transformed from a diplomatic nightmare into an exclusive business opportunity. The Galactic Council's official declaration read like a horror novel. Earth status, extreme hazard zone, indigenous species composed of and dependent on corrosive substance, H2O. Atmosphere regularly contaminated with condensed water vapor. Surface 71% covered in liquid water. Native lifeforms continuously produce water as biological byproduct. Warning: human presence requires minimum 3-meter safety perimeter due to risk of moisture exposure through respiratory emissions. Dr. Wong had framed a copy and hung it in the lab. The thing is, Chen explained to the latest batch of diplomats, humans can process and transport materials that would dissolve your workers on contact. We're basically walking hazmat suits. The negotiations took an interesting turn when the Etherian Empire discovered that humans could safely maintain their water-based cooling systems. The Crystalline Confederation needed help with their mining operations, which involved water-based extraction methods. Even the Zeekzorn, despite their initial terror, realized that human workers could handle their most dangerous industrial processes. "Let me get this straight," Admiral Blackwood said during one particularly amusing meeting. "You want to hire human crews to work in your extremely dangerous facilities, which are only dangerous to you because they contain trace amounts of water." "Precisely," the alien representative nodded, all three of their heads. "Your natural immunity makes you uniquely qualified. We're prepared to offer significant compensation for such high-risk work." Chen watched as the Admiral somehow managed not to laugh. "I'm sure we can arrange something suitable," Blackwood replied with admirable restraint. The human diplomatic team quickly learned to use their newfound terrifying status to their advantage. Trade agreements started including clauses like moisture management services and hydrology consultation fees. Earth's economy boomed as humans became the galaxy's go-to species for handling extremely hazardous materials, most of which were about as dangerous to humans as a glass of tap water. During one memorable council session, a junior diplomat accidentally sneezed. 3 species immediately evacuated the chamber, and Earth secured an extremely favorable trade deal in the ensuing chaos. "You know what's really funny?" Dr. Wong commented one day, reviewing the latest batch of contract requests. "They're so terrified of water that they haven't even noticed we're basically immune to most of their actually dangerous materials too." He had a point. While aliens panicked about water exposure, they thought nothing of humans handling substances that would be lethal to their own species. Earth had accidentally become the galaxy's hazardous materials experts through what Chen called the greatest case of misdirection in human history. The quarantine zone around Earth had become less of a restriction and more of an exclusive business address. Ships lined up at the safety perimeter, waiting for human crews to handle their dangerous cargo. The warning buoys that marked Earth's space had been upgraded to include advertisements for certified human water management services. "We should probably feel bad about this," Chen remarked to Admiral Blackwood as they watched another fleet of cargo ships approach Earth's quarantine zone. "About what? We're providing a valuable service. It's not our fault the galaxy's most common substance happens to be toxic to everyone but us." The Admiral paused, then added with a grin, "Though I do think we should stop putting danger contains humans warning labels on our ships. It's getting a bit theatrical." The latest round of trade negotiations had introduced yet another complication: tourism. Despite, or perhaps because of, Earth's deadly reputation, some adventurous aliens wanted to visit the water world safely enclosed in their environmental suits. "Like swimming with sharks," one tourism developer explained, "except the entire planet is the shark and it's made of acid." As Chen watched the Galactic Council debate the safety regulations for extreme environment tourism to Earth, she couldn't help but marvel at how quickly humans had adapted to their new status. From potential diplomatic disaster to economic opportunity, all because humans were basically sentient water bottles with opposable thumbs. "Next item on the agenda," the Council Chairman announced, "Earth's request to establish a chain of human-operated car washes in major spaceports." Admiral Blackwood leaned over to Chen and whispered, "Should we tell them about how humans sometimes shoot water at each other for fun?" "Let's save that for the next trade negotiation," Chen replied with a wink. "I hear the Crystalline Confederation is interested in our extremely hazardous water purification technology." The galactic standard for human interaction protocols was giving Dr. Chen a headache. She stared at the draft document on her hollow screen, wondering how something so simple had turned into a 400-page safety manual. "Acceptable human proximity varies by species," she read aloud to Dr. Wong. "Crystalline beings must maintain minimum 5-meter distance due to exhaled water vapor risk. Gaseous entities require specialized atmospheric barriers, and my personal favorite, in case of accidental human leakage." "Human leakage?" Wong snorted, nearly choking on his coffee. "You mean sweating?" "Apparently we're classified as ambulatory containment vessels with unpredictable release mechanisms." Chen gestured to the giant engineering project taking shape outside their lab window. "Hence all this. The Human Containment and Integration Facility, or HCIF, was humanity's answer to the galactic water panic. The massive complex featured everything from moisture-controlled meeting rooms to specialized atmospheric chambers for different alien species. Dr. Chen's breakthrough came from an unlikely source, watching her nephew's hamster ball. "If they're scared of water," she had told Admiral Blackwood, "let's just put everything in a bubble." The result was a system of interconnected dry zones and human-safe areas, separated by what the marketing team dubbed hydrophobic barriers. In reality, they were just really good dehumidifiers with some fancy force fields thrown in for show. "Watch this," Chen demonstrated to a group of alien observers, safely watching from behind triple-sealed viewing windows. She pressed a button, and a fine mist sprayed into a test chamber. The moisture instantly vanished, trapped by the containment field. One of the Zorn observers actually applauded with their tentacles, but the real genius was in the unexpected benefits. It turned out that creating spaces where water couldn't exist had applications far beyond alien diplomacy. "You're telling me," Admiral Blackwood said during their weekly briefing, "that the system we designed to keep aliens from dissolving can also protect our electronics, prevent rust, and preserve ancient artifacts?" "Among other things," Chen nodded. "The museums are particularly interested. Turns out completely moisture-free storage is great for conservation." The protocols expanded rapidly. Spaceports installed human-specific airlocks that dehumidified passengers before they entered alien zones. Restaurants developed special sections with different atmospheric conditions for various species. Earth's first alien shopping mall featured what they called dry walks, protected pathways that let visitors shop without fear of human moisture exposure. There were, of course, some interesting cultural adjustments. During one memorable incident, a human diplomat forgot the protocols and tried to shake hands with a crystalline ambassador. The resulting panic led to the creation of the universal no-contact greeting, basically a fancy bow that kept everyone at a safe distance. Dr. Wong developed what he called the humidity traffic light system. Green zones were safe for all species, yellow required protective gear, and red meant humans only. Everything else will dissolve. "The funny thing is," Chen told her team during a project review, "we're actually making Earth more accessible to alien life than ever before. All because they're terrified of getting wet." The benefits kept piling up. The containment technology led to breakthroughs in environmental control, materials preservation, and even food storage. Earth's deadly water handling expertise made humans the go-to species for precision manufacturing where moisture control was critical. "Do you ever think we're overdoing it?" Wong asked one day, watching a group of alien tourists take photos in front of a "Warning, humans may release water vapor without notice" sign. Chen was about to respond when their alert system pinged. A delegation from a newly discovered aquatic species wanted to visit Earth. For the first time, they had aliens excited about water instead of terrified of it. "Well," Chen grinned, "at least we won't have to dehumidify anything for these visitors." The most surprising benefit came from the medical sector. The ability to create completely moisture-free environments led to new sterilization techniques, while the containment fields found applications in treating certain diseases. During a presentation to the Galactic Council, Chen couldn't resist a bit of showmanship. She took a dramatic sip of water while explaining the latest safety protocols, causing several council members to flinch. In conclusion, she finished, holding up her water bottle like a trophy, Earth's containment protocols not only ensure safe interaction between species, but have advanced technology throughout the galaxy. Though I do have one question. The council leader nervously indicated she should continue. Given all these benefits, should we really keep calling it a containment protocol? I mean, at this point, it's more like a technological revolution, all because you're afraid of a little H2O. Admiral Blackwood, watching from the back, had to bite her lip to keep from laughing as the council seriously debated whether to reclassify water from lethal substance to hazardous but beneficial compound under human supervision. You know what the best part is? Chen told her later. They're so focused on the water issue, nobody's noticed that humans are basically immune to half the stuff they consider dangerous. Should we tell them? Let's save that for the next contract negotiation, Blackwood winked. I hear the Etherian Empire needs help with their highly toxic ice mining operation on Europa. A year after the Great Water Panic, Earth had somehow become the galaxy's most peculiar superpower, not through military might or advanced technology, but because humans were basically walking hazmat suits with a sense of humor. The latest Galactic Council meeting perfectly demonstrated this new dynamic. Dr. Chen watched as Admiral Blackwood casually twirled a water bottle during her presentation, causing several species to huddle behind their protective shields. And that's why Earth is proposing to establish human-staffed emergency response teams across the galaxy, Blackwood concluded. Since we're uniquely qualified to handle water-based disasters. You mean you'll send teams of humans to deliberately expose themselves to water? A horrified council member asked. We call them firefighters, Blackwood replied with a straight face. They're quite good at it. The new balance of power had created some interesting situations. The Etherian Empire, once considered a major military force, now relied on human workers to maintain their water-cooled quantum drives. The Crystalline Confederation had human moisture management specialists on speed dial. During one memorable incident, a human sneezed in a spaceport. 3 different species declared it a biological attack until Dr. Wong explained the concept of allergies. Now, potential human moisture emission events were included in standard safety briefings. The adaptation period brought daily humor. Alien ships started installing what they called human containment chambers, basically regular rooms with humidity controls. The ZXorn developed special protocols for handling water-contaminated humans, which mostly involved a lot of nervous tentacle waving. You should see their faces when I tell them humans are 70% water, Dr. Wong told Chen during a break. One of them asked if we were some kind of biological water balloon experiment gone wrong. Even the feared militant hive of Zarthal had to adapt. Their fearsome reputation took a hit when it became public knowledge that their entire species could be defeated by a garden sprinkler. Remember when we were worried about alien invasions? Admiral Blackwood mused during a strategy meeting. Turns out all we needed was a super soaker and some creative thinking. The humans, for their part, were having far too much fun with their new status. Space station gift shops started selling bottles of genuine Earth water as novelty items. Warning labels like, "Caution, contains moist humans" became popular t-shirt designs. One enterprising company even started a line of human-certified workspace signs. Warning, humans in vicinity, spontaneous hydration possible. Caution, this area experiences periodic human moisture events. Danger, human drinking zone, water consumption in progress. Dr. Chen had to admit, watching a group of battle-hardened Zarthal warriors tiptoeing around a human drinking from a water fountain was pretty entertaining. But the real power shift came from humanity's unique position as universal intermediaries. Need to transport water-sensitive materials? Call a human. Got a water-based industrial process? Humans can handle it. Mysterious liquid needs analyzing? Get a human to poke it. We've basically become the galaxy's plumbers, Wong commented during a project review. Except instead of fixing leaks, we're just not dissolving while we do it. The final proof of Earth's new status came during the Great Galactic Trade Summit. Every major species insisted on having human representatives present, just in case someone needed to handle something water-adjacent. As Chen watched human diplomats confidently striding through the summit, casually carrying water bottles like badges of office, She couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Humanity had achieved galactic importance not through warfare or technological superiority, but because they could safely drink a glass of water without dissolving. "You know what's really funny?" she told Admiral Blackwood as they watched another human safety briefing for new alien visitors. "We spent centuries worrying about how to defend Earth from aliens, and it turns out we just needed to offer them a drink." 5 years after first contact, Dr. Chen stood at her lab window, watching shuttles from a dozen alien species carefully navigate Earth's hazardous atmosphere. Each vessel was emblazoned with warning symbols about human presence and water containment protocols. The latest report from the Galactic Council sat on her desk. Earth had just been officially designated as the galaxy's premier center for hazardous materials handling, all because humans had the superpower of not dissolving in water. "You know what the real joke is?" she said to Admiral Blackwood, who was examining their newest safety protocol certification. "We just discovered that water isn't even the most dangerous thing about us." The Admiral raised an eyebrow. "The coffee study," Chen nodded. Dr. Wong's latest research had revealed something hilarious. Human caffeine consumption was technically classified as voluntary neurotoxin exposure by galactic standards. They had yet to tell the Council that humans deliberately ingested this substance for pleasure. "So we're not just walking water bombs," Blackwood chuckled. "We're also routinely drugging ourselves for fun. No wonder the galaxy thinks we're insane." The final irony had come last week. A routine analysis of alien biochemistry had revealed that most species actually contained compounds far more corrosive than water. They just happened to be terrified of the one humans needed to survive. As if on cue, a group of alien tourists outside the lab scrambled to maintain their safety distance as a human worker passed by with a cup of coffee, simultaneously threatening them with both water and caffeine exposure. "Should we tell them," Chen mused, watching the scene, "that their own biochemistry is technically more dangerous than anything we've got? And ruin our reputation as the galaxy's most terrifying species?" Blackwood grinned. "Besides, think of all the safety protocols we'd have to rewrite." Chen laughed, raising her water bottle in a mock toast to humanity, accidentally becoming a superpower because we're really good at not dying from drinking water. Outside, rain began to fall, sending nearby alien visitors rushing for cover. The emergency broadcast system activated automatically. "Warning, natural water discharge in progress. Please proceed to designated dry zones." "You know," Chen said, watching the chaos, "maybe being the galaxy's most dangerous species isn't so bad after all. At least nobody tries to sell us overpriced real estate." A message flashed across her screen. Another alien species requesting Earth's unique contamination handling expertise. Chen smiled, thinking about how the universe had such a weird sense of humor. Humans had spent centuries worrying about their place among the stars, only to find out they were living superweapons just by existing. She took another sip of water, causing a passing alien diplomat to flinch. Some fears, it seemed, were universal. Though she had to admit, being feared across the galaxy for basically being a sentient water balloon was probably the most human thing ever.